little bit. Okay, and it says we are live, and boom, boom, there is Shelby. Hey, Shelby. So it is another Friday. So everybody watching back, hello, Allison and I. Hope you had a great week. It was a hot one for all my East Coast peeps. So glad that all my fellow peeps back there on the East Coast. From what Tom is saying, he says it's a nice 69 degrees right now. So the heat broke, and he's going to be listening. So safe rides, Tom. Thanks for listening. And Shelby just popped in. Yep, like it was one hot beginning of the week. So, yes. And Sandy Black is here. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us. I hear Europe is hot too, Sandy. Um, Jackie was saying that she was visiting East Europe with her husband up in Czechoslovakia, and she showed me a picture. It's like all of Europe is like all red, it's all like super hot. So global, warming is happening. It is changing. So hope y'all are staying cool there across the pond. And I had the cutest. So if people love Chihuahuas, and who knows, maybe by mentioning Chihuahuas, maybe I'll manifest Miss Tarot D popping in the chat. But I got to meet the cutest little Chihuahua today. He actually is on Instagram, and his name is Jethro Joy Boy.
Aw.
And Jethro's an older Chihuahua. He has a little pillow that sits outside the door of his owner's business. She owns it's a group of realtors in downtown Ashland. And so she sits by the front window with a computer doing her work, and Jethro sits on his pillow. And there's a little sign behind him that says, "If you don't mind stopping, I would love a pet." And so I said, "Of course I'll pet you." And he's a little white Chihuahua, so sweet. And he is on Instagram. So if you type in Jethro Joy Boy, you will see the cute, adorable little Jethro
Cute.
that we met today. And it was like I was like, "Okay, I have to go now." And he was just like, "No, no, no, keep staying." He was so cute because a lot of Chihuahuas that you do meet, and I'm no that this isn't Lulu because I know Lulu's part Chihuahua, but some can be a little mean, a little nasty. And this guy, little guy here, he was all doing the shimmy, really working it for everybody walking by on the sidewalk. So I definitely recommend going and checking out Jethro's page on Instagram. Like Selena, her Darla, who has Addison's disease and stuff, she has her own page for Darla, which I love to watch. So you can't say no to pet profiles. So I wanted to share that. And Sandy says it has been very nice. Okay, so hopefully it's all cooling down over there. But like here in Ashland, they say you don't like the way the weather is, give it 5 to 10 minutes and it can change. It does. That really, that saying sticks. And I guess the same thing for England, especially when I watch my favorite English shows with artists painting outside. Sandy, I don't know if you ever watched it. If you haven't, I really recommend it. Oh, there's Lulu right there. Aww. It's called Landscape Artist of the Year. They also do one for portraits. It's on a channel called Sky Arts, and they go out to all these different landscapes and places in and around the United Kingdom. And there, it's a competition for a commission at the end of the season. And so, watching that, you see how the weather can boom. 1 minute the sun's out, it's beautiful. Then boom, clouds roll in, and it's pouring, on everybody. So, but yeah, getting back on track here. Madam Maru is here. Hello, Maruta. Oh, there she is. Thank you for finding Joy Boy. Well, Jethro. I love Jethro. And I was telling the lady through the door, Jethro, that's the name of Mr. Gibbs on NCIS. Leroy Jethro Gibbs was his name. And Moon Fox Shelby said, I was telling my dad that we should get three dogs, a Boston Terrier named Broccoli, a Shih Tzu named Cauliflower, and a Chihuahua named Carrot, and call them the California Blend. Oh, oh Shelby, that's cute. That's quite cute. And hey, yo, Kiro Taco Bell, me loves Chihuahua. Yes. So Stephen has joined us, everyone. And be sure, in a couple of hours, Stephen will be going live on his Friday night show. So we can go hang out with him a little bit later. And Janet Lee is listening while crocheting.
I just missed. What were you just saying? Actually, I was sending Steven a text. What were you just saying? I heard you say something about Boston Terrier.
So Shelby was having fun. She goes, I was telling my dad that we should get three dogs, a Boston Terrier named Broccoli, a
Definitely
Shih
a
Tzu
Boston
named
Terrier.
Cauliflower, and a Chihuahua named Carrot, and call them the California Blend.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Shih Tzus are cool too. I had two Boston Terriers from 8 weeks until they were both around 15 years when they both crossed. But they were lovely. That's my favorite breed. There's no competition. And my male Romeo was my favorite dog ever of all the dogs I've ever
Oh,
had.
let Scout and Lulu hear. I mean,
And
Lulu hear
yeah,
that.
just the best. Boston's, I mean, I love all dogs. Some breeds, I think a lot of people are like this, I prefer. Love mixes, blah, blah, blah. Love all the dogs, all sizes. But Boston Terriers, they're just amazing. They're little comedians. They're little dogs, but they're compact. They're not delicate
Mm-hmm.
at all, and they're very fit. You can do a lot with them, and they're just yeah. I love Boston's, and I love black and white coats on all rabbits, horses, dogs, cats. That's my favorite like coat
And her tarot
combination.
cards too. She's got a
Yes,
couple
I like
nice
black and
black
white
and
tarot cards too. That's true. Yeah. But anyways, I just heard Boston Terrier. Like, what did
Mm-hmm.
you say? So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shan's mom had a Shih Tzu that was she lived to 17, and her name was Murphy. And so yeah, they're very
Shih
sweet.
Tzus are cool. Yep.
Hmm. And I
Mm-hmm.
saw actually a Boston Terrier this week. It was either when we were in Medford or if we were here shopping. And I remember one going by and going, "Oh, that's one of Allison's dogs," you know. So
Yeah, they're I'll probably possibly have one again someday. That might be the last
mm,
puppy that I get into and carry through its life. I would love to have another Boston. Yeah,
mm.
when the time is right.
And Janet, crocheting girl. There, I want to get back into crocheting, but we went to the Ashland crochet store downtown. Girlfriend, $35. You know, some of these yarns that they sell there, you only get like this much,
It's
and you know,
probably wool,
it's very high. It's
and
high
it's
end,
it's a
but
high quality skein of you know.
it's expensive. But girl, you would probably go crazy in there. I saw a beautiful, um, not it wasn't pashima, but it was a kind of like a scarf, not scarf. It was thicker. I can't think of the word of what it would, but it was like a wrap.
Pashmina.
You can like kind of wrap around. It wasn't pashima, but you see them like that. You can wrap them around your shoulders.
Oh,
And I looked at that. I said, "Oh, I bet you that thing's a couple $100." I looked at it, $595. I was like, "Oh!" But we are in Ashland, so. But
quick,
Janet, you
I
would love
will
this store.
real quick. My niece and I'm gonna go take this moment to brag. My oldest
Break
niece
away.
um is an at she knits every day. That's like her, I'm going to say that's like her therapy. That's her stress relief. And she only uses very fine, high quality yarn. And her knitting, literally, seriously, it looks like it was done on a machine because she's so probably hyper focused about what she's doing. It's just amazing how beautiful knitting can be. And when you have very small, thin yarn and you're getting into super detailed and all the different stitches and everything. Yeah, she's made a lot of like little, I don't even know what you call them. Like she's done scarves and sweaters and hats and all of that stuff, but she's made like a couple of, it's not a shawl, it's not a it's kind of like if you just throw it over yourself and it's going to be almost like a V, and it just be like you'd wear it over a tank or like a shirt. Like it's really like a decorative piece, really, and you're just putting it over.
Carolina.
The stuff she's done is just gorgeous.
Beautiful.
I'm done bragging. Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, you can break, because a lot of times that takes a lot of practice, a lot of skill, a lot of dedication.
It's just it blows my mind. I mean, it's I've never seen anything like it.
So let's see. We had Carolina join us. Hello, Carolina. That is Aquarius Tarot Adventures. Carolina released a couple of videos recently with decks. I'm like, oh, more decks that I want to get now. So thanks, Carolina. But they're beautiful. I love them. I'm definitely going to put them on my list. So everyone be sure to check out Carolina's here. Carolina, let me add you as a mod, because you've been joining Allyson and I on Fridays, and Nancy and I. So let me go ahead. I have my thing all set up. So if I need to as anyone as a mod, I've got them in there. So Carolina, be sure to put your link into chat. I know there is still some rumor that goes around, murmuring of, if people put their links in their chat, you lose subscribers. I have seen nothing that validates that, at least on my end. So no worries about Allyson and I losing any, subscribers. If you have a channel, go ahead and put your links in there, anything that you're doing, or like a website that you have, please go ahead. Yeah, like Steven says, it's all BS. So we've had that conversation in the past, kind of a possible form of gatekeeping, but I'll digress on that. But don't be afraid to put anybody, and your links can go right into chat, no worries. And we did have Miss Luscious Lexi joining us. Hello, Lexi. Thank you for popping in. So it's gotten quiet, Stephen, but every now and then I hear a little, so yeah, never believed that one. I didn't either, sweetheart. And somebody, I don't know where it was, but there was another one going around saying something about, I can't remember what it was, but it was odd. And I said, now that's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. But now that I want to bring it up, I can't think of it. So maybe I'm not meant to. So I'll stay hush hush with that one. And did I miss any? Oh, thank you, Maruta. So she put in Carolina's channel in there. Thank you so much. Let's see. Sorry, my bad. No, you posted a couple really nice ones lately. And so has Steven. Steven's Magical Botanical. It was so funny. I forgot, because he just did a flip through on his channel for that today. And I have that deck. And he's like, yeah, don't you remember you just read for me on Monday? I pulled a card for him from that deck. So that's another deck that I really recommend. I know I saw your comment.
Yeah, I'll wait till you're done. I want to comment on that.
Did you get it? I thought you were going to pull out and say, guess what?
No, he just posted that yesterday.
So, well, hey, I've seen tarot decks. I'm like, oh, I'm going to the store right now and seeing if they have it. So
no.
But there's some really nice ones that have come out. And so, let's see. Ooh, let me catch up. We are jumping. Let's see. Shelby says, I've been working on my website for a bit. Good for you, girl. It's a portfolio, more of an art gallery that I'm trying to put together and update with my new art. When it's done, I'll send a link when it's ready. Wonderful. And I was visiting galleries downtown today. We went into two of them, and I saw some incredible artwork. I was starting to talk to one of the owners, And as I started talking to her, I just dropped off and I went, and she's like, what? And this beautiful painting on the wall of this huge wild cat. And I couldn't quite, I
Mm-hmm.
said, no, that's got to be a jaguar. But even, even from afar, when I was not talking to her, I walked over. The artist took some liberties with some abstraction in the fur, but you could see the rosettes in the back. I looked at the title, Black Jaguar. Oh my God, I have her card, the artist. I got a couple of them. I'm going to like email them and say, introduce myself and say, this painting brought me to tears almost. It really, really did. It was so beautiful. It took my breath away. So I am really looking forward to meeting. First Friday is coming up, which is going to be July 4th here. And she says that's never happened. So this is going to be interesting to see how First Friday goes with the 4th of July celebration. And this weekend, of course, Lithia Park always has their artisan market that they put up. And so one of the artists I saw today, I'm going to go down and introduce myself tomorrow. She phenomenal. Some of the artists here are just absolutely phenomenal. And let's see. Wait till Llewellyn has their 35% off sale, Allyson.
Okay.
Oh, there
Actually,
you
let me go
go.
ahead and comment now because we'll
Sure.
get too far along and I'll forget. All I wanted to say is he posted that and I watched it and I did think of your deck actually at some point there, but I don't think I've ever either couple different things. Either when I saw you using it, there wasn't actually a flip through, or you did a flip through on a live maybe or something like that. I remember I liked it. But when he did what he did, it's at that pace and you see each card and I'm actually paying
I flipped through too
attention. He's
fast.
not talking and showing. And anyways, it was just very different. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I need to add that to my list.
This is the deck
So
we're
I have
talking
a
about.
list that I go through at a very, very, very slow pace. I don't buy decks hardly ever. But that's one really it's the artwork is gorgeous. I don't even know how much I'd use it. It's just so gorgeous. Like each card, I'm just like, I love the artwork.
Yeah,
And
even the book has the color in it.
there was only I did like them all. I'm gonna say there were only maybe two out of all of them that I didn't get super excited, but I really liked them all. I'm like, how would I really love every single card in this deck? So yeah, I thanked him for posting it, and yeah, it's gorgeous. And it's only got 33 cards. It's a small deck.
I was disappointed.
Which
that
I'm not a fan of that, but they're so gorgeous. What are you gonna do? So
that was the only thing that I had an issue with. Were just two things. I wish the image would have been bigger so you could see how intricate and gorgeous her illustrative talent is. I mean, the details in this artwork is incredible, and that there were only a handful. To me, it is a very small deck. And I was disappointed that Heather wasn't included because it's even considered a druid herbal in the uh, the druid apothecary and tinctures and essential oils. But other than that, I mean, my favorite card is the Belladonna. I love it's like the High Priestess card and the Sunflower card. Look at the bees. I just absolutely, I mean, Maxine Miller. I mean, the author is Christopher Penzick. He's well known. He's been around now for a while in the Wiccan witchcraft community. I can't remember if he aligns himself as a Wiccan. So, but he has done books on, magic of Reiki. He's done books on magic and stuff. So, these two together did an incredible deck. I do highly recommend this deck. And like Gerald would say, know your limits, purchase responsibly. But this deck pairs so beautifully with the Pavlov, Fyodor Pavlov deck that I have. I have another deck that I use. It's a pip deck. It's called the Mystical Moon deck. Just really, I mean, the pairings on a lot of these decks go well. Jeremy Hush also. a great pairing with this Oracle deck. So yeah, I just can't, speak, more highly,
Can you
than
talk on
that.
the card stock and how it shuffles?
Yes. So the cardstock it's not thick, it's not too thin, it's nice. It's got a nice little, just really, there's, I mean, it does not hurt my hands to shuffle these. They do shuffle nicely. I don't riffle shuffle. I've never been able to do that. I'm sure that they would be. Let me see if I can. They are. I don't know if they can be. They are a little stiff for me if I want to go try that. But someone who's used to it can probably break these in very easily. But they just listen. Just listen to that. It's just beautiful. It's like soft, delicate sandpaper, and they just shuffle. Just gorgeous. Just beautiful. I I love them. Any other questions about them? I mean, the book has 3 sections. Explains the divination, the plant magic, the witchcraft associated with them. They give you a affirmation. They do give you a reversal, though. I don't do reversals, but sometimes one will come out reverse, and I'll honor that. Um, it's just the packaging, everything, big thick box. When I had to move, I threw out a lot of boxes and just put my cards into plastic baggies to be able to, save on space, so I wouldn't have to, leave too many of my decks behind. This one, I kept the box. Even the box is gorgeous. It's well made. It's thick. They protect the cards well. I can even put them in the baggie and still set them in there. There, like I said, there isn't really anything bad I can say. And this is my favorite card, the Belladonna card, because she's like all high priestess to me. I love this. Um, so yeah, the only thing, not that many cards, and I wish the artwork was a bit bigger so that you could see it, the details more clearly on this deck. But this deck pairs well. I know pairing is a big thing right now in a lot of our community, and I enjoy because I enjoy it because I just can't pull from one deck when I do readings. I have to have a couple, and this one goes beautifully with most decks that I have. Again, like I said, the Theodore, the Jeremy Hush, my Mystical Moon Pip deck, they all go really nicely, visually too with this deck. And we've had some people jump in. Did you have any other questions, Allyson, about
No,
the deck
thank
that I
you.
can? We have Kristen Louise is here. Hello, Kristen, and her cute little kittens that she's, fostering. They're adorable. Kristen, I love seeing the pictures. Let's see. I don't have that aura, but it is beautiful. Let's see. I saw what? Oh, let me back up a little bit. The drawings are exquisitely. Yes, they are. Let's see. Does exceptionally good flip throughs. I watch all of them usually, and I comment through. Oh, okay. So moving along, we have Mama Sushi in the house. Hello, Mama Sushi. I hope both baby sushis are doing well. The one in the belly and the one that's on the outside. Much love to you, sweetheart. Thank you for popping in. Let's see. Everyone's saying hello to each other. And I think we are all caught up on the comments. So Allyson actually came up with the topic for today about talking about cards. So I'm just going to open it up to you.
Okay, let me grab my drink out of the.
Okay. So what kind of brought this about was that she reached out to me the other day and asked me to pull some cards on an individual that had gone missing in their hometown. They've been found safe and sound, yay. But we end up having a discussion about the cards that we were getting and how we kind of interpret them. So she thought, hey, let's talk about this. And I said, sounds good to me. So, alrighty, all yours.
Okay, so yes, that is what happened. I wasn't even really, and it's fine that you said something. I wasn't going to go into that really at all, but it's fine.
Okay.
But that is why it came about. So it's perfectly fine. So, how do I start? So actually, I'll tag on to what Heather just said. So, without divulging any details at all, somebody in my area where I live, there was a search for this person on. They went missing Monday of last week, and they is that right? Yes, I think it was Monday. And
Because
then
we
they
read on
they
Wednesday.
were uh found late Wednesday evening, and people that were really following it found out Wednesday evening, but it really hit the news on Thursday that this person had been found and da 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 da. So my uh somebody that I'm very close to was the person that alerted me to this whole situation anyways, because I don't really do the news, and I don't do Facebook and all this. I didn't even know about it. So and she asked me if I could pull cards on it, and I was kind of hesitant at first, and then I was like, well, you know what, yes, sure, I will. And full disclosure, I did not do all the stuff beforehand, and I rarely do that. Like, I didn't go to my altar, and I didn't call in all my stuff, and I didn't call in my whole team, and da 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 da. I just said a quick little protection thing before I started, and I was like, go. And so, and in hindsight, that was a mistake. And I was interested and concerned. Again, I don't want to go into too many detail about who this person was and all of that, because I don't even want that to come into this or violate anybody's personal business or whatever.
Sure.
So, but what ended up happening was I threw down some cards. This was just for my own personal whatever, right? Because my sister was asking me, and again, it was in the news and whatever. And what I got was a little not what I was expecting. And this is really what I wanted to talk about, this right here. So if I had gone through all the correct steps, like I usually do before reading, I would have come at it a little bit different. I would have been more grounded. I would have been more in tune and focused on what was going on. And I would have interpreted my cards different. Didn't do that. And so what that was part of it. I mean, I can dissect and analyze this as much as I want. I haven't really. I have a little bit, which is why we're talking about it. But anyways, I tend to go down a rabbit hole with things. I haven't done that with this. But so I threw down cards and I got something, and I interpreted it. Again, I didn't do all the stuff. I interpreted it the way that my brain would interpret it. It was not my intuition. It was not me communicating with my team. It was none of that. I had a preconceived outcome already. I had some information, da, 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 and because of all that, I interpreted my cards as such, which is, never going to work out. Then I pulled another, I did another spread, and then I did a third. And the third one, I did snap a picture of it because I knew I wouldn't remember. And honestly, going back just for learning's sake, because I consider all this stuff educational, I wish I had taken a picture so I could go back now and look at what I got and reanalyze my spreads. Because I know my spreads were correct. It's just how I interpreted it because of my state of mind, how I was feeling, and my lack of preparation. And so all of that affects your reading. And so it was just very interesting. Yeah, I don't even really need to say any more than that. I will say this much. This person, or rather the situation, turned out with a beautiful ending. I believe we won't get full disclosure on how this person is going to recover from what happened, but the person that was lost was, or missing, was in fact kind of lost, I guess you'd say. They were found, they were reunited, and they were, because of HIPAA and everything else, we won't get full details on how this evolves, but this person was retrieved alive, and was got medical care and da 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 da. So yeah, so it was just really, really, really interesting. Oh, and then the other thing is, so I reached out to Heather and I told her about the situation, and I pretty much caught her up to speed on everything I knew at that point. I since learned a lot more because then he was recovered and we found out more and blah, 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 whatever. And I just said it. My sister was part of the search and this, that, and whatever. And so I found out even more details. But prior to that, I had reached out to Heather, told her the situation. She pulled cards, and I continued to go in the direction that I was already going. And then Heather went with what she got. And then we kind of went down the trail together, and none of it was correct in the end. The way it turned out, what happened, all of it. But if you go back and you look at it with what actually turned out, it was correct. It was interpreted wrong because of the mindset and the preconceived outcome or situation based on knowledge. And this is also just a tail end or tack on to all of that. Another reason why me personally, this is not Heather, this is not any other reader, whatever, this is just me. I like to, and just reminding me, I do like to read. This is another layer of it. I like to read without details. I don't like to read on people I know really well. I do readings online like this a bit, and I have in the past, but like if I know anything about you, I really don't like to read. I will, but I prefer to go in clean, not know anything. But I also need to do my whole thing prior and be grounded and not married to any outcome or married to any information, married to any knowledge, all that. And again, that's for me. So it was very interesting how this all turned out. I was so grateful that, this whole rabbit hole, admittedly, that was dove into was not what happened. And this person is safe and sound. And as far as I know, all is well. But it was just really interesting. And again, not to be redundant, but one other thing, again, a lot of the cards that came out do apply to what happened. But as we all know, those of us that read, the cards have many, many, many meanings. And that's why, in part, it's important to be grounded and to be focused and to listen to your intuition, not get tied up in what you know, and be open to accurately interpret the message. And I don't usually do that. So it was very interesting. I don't have a huge ego. I got no problem saying got it wrong. And I didn't really share it with anybody. It was just me and Heather, yakking it up, and that was about it. I didn't even tell my sister. I did tell her some very basic, and the basic that I told her was right. I said this person was by water and this, and that, and whatever, and in the end, they were.
Yeah, I got water cards too. Yep.
And it was just really interesting. Yeah, and in my mind, this person had come to something really awful and whatever, and yeah, they were scared and they were this and they were that. But yeah, so that's just what I wanted to talk about and share, and that's really all I had to say from my perspective.
No, I think that's a great topic to bring up with, because we have so many fellow readers in chat. I will say that when you mentioned that you wanted to see if I could pull some cards, when I did get home, I did do my thing. I did get, okay, I had to make sure I was grounded because I'd just come in from shopping, driving, in from back in from Medford. Had to grab something to drink, had to get myself grounded, had to make sure I called in my ancestors, my guides, my protectors, even spritz some of this lovely Florida water spray that I just spritzed in a little bit. And after I did, just really quick, it was just like she magically appeared. Hello, Miss Tarody. Good to see you, my dear. And before I continue on, we did have Irene join us. So, hello, Irene. That is Iron Fire Horse. And Shelby, I'm going to get up to your comment here before I go on so I don't lose it up in the chat. She did mention that while Allyson was talking, she was just shuffling and the hangman popped out of her deck. And that it does resonate and that is interesting because not only I think did you and I get a hangman in our readings, possibly, I know I did. Hangman is about looking at things from a different perspective, and that's what we're talking about, looking at cards from at different perspectives because they are so layered. There could be so many possible meanings behind them. And so I think that was very interesting, Shelby. Thank you for sharing about the hangman coming out. And I think I got caught up. Oh, and Carolina says that was, wow, Allison, so interesting. Let's see. Give my dear Dub a big hug and kiss. Okay, so I think we're mentioning maybe Dub H, I think. Let's see. Making sure I didn't miss any other comments that people were sharing. Let's see. Okay, so Kristen says that's probably my biggest problem with my readings for others is the getting grounded. My energy is often anxiously flying all over the place. Yes, that's why for me, I have to make sure I am grounded. I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. That I don't have anything that I know that's going to be distracting me, except for maybe my kitty, um, for at least a good hour. If I go to pull cards or I want to do a reading. Last night, I waited until, people left the park, sitting outside. It was getting dark. I had a light on and I was able to get grounded and do a reading then. So being grounded is very important. I agree totally with Allyson with that. And let's see. I like when Scott reads because he will just be like, that's all I'm getting from that. He doesn't push and just reads the cards as is, which can be nice too. So yes, not trying to force anything. Like you were saying, some people don't, like to think that it could be wrong. And I think sometimes not a lot of people in the tarot tube community, but there are some that I think too, and it may come from a place of ego, or I know there are some readers who just want to make sure that people are happy with the reading that they're getting and they're being helpful, that they may spend more time or try to maybe spin something to see if something sticks. But like what Allyson and I were talking about backstage Wednesday, she's like, "This is what I get. Boom, boom, boom. I'll pull clarifiers, but I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to try to force it to be something that it is not. And the person can take whatever that energy is and apply it however they want. So basically, so again, different ways in which we read. So I'm trying to make sure because I just kind of lost track of what I was going to say. But let's see, what did Shelby say? When I do reading it, if something comes up and I'm being pulled to do a reading, or whether I'm just chilling and want to play around, I do a reading. But it's always good to be grounded, though, especially, I know, speaking for me, being grounded is just not, making sure I'm grounded and I'm stable and I'm relaxed to be able to understand the messages that are coming through. For me, being grounded also includes, making sure that my safety. Some people may not feel that they need a boundary or a safety shield around them when they pull. It's part of that, again, that topic we sometimes bring up about fear and how much does fear play in using any form of divination, whether it's cards, pendulum, board, Ouija board. But for me, I like to make sure that my protections are there because if you're not grounded, and you're not centered in yourself and connected to your guides or ancestors or whoever you call, then for me, that's leaving, not error for judgment on your part and trying to interpret the cards, but it could also open doors to allowing anything either mischievous, negative, or anything else to kind of come in and kind of mess with you. So that's why I always make sure before I start, ancestors, spirit guides, God, Goddess, whoever my deities are that surround me, that protect me, my animal totems. I even try to make sure I don't leave out my animal totems. You know, keep me safe, protected, and grounded, during my readings tonight. And that's what my ritual is. And I just saw that Sylvia's joined us. Colorful Foresight, Connect from Within. And she says, for me, I have a challenge telling the touchy stuff news. What do you mean by that? Even as a student of woo woo, can't bypass the bad news, as after the bad news are usually filled with solutions or this too shall pass moments. Oh, so you don't like being able to give, I think I understand what you're saying, Sylvia. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's when you see stuff in the cards and it's not good news. I mean, we're not doing the person we're reading for any good by just, covering stuff that they need to know. I mean, that spirit coming through to give that person a message. And now, again, this is something also Bobby has talked about. It's like it's depending on the news. Like Allyson says, she likes to be straightforward. Sometimes it's not going to be unicorn farts and rainbows, with her readings. If she sees
Usually
something,
not.
it's going to bring up something like we were saying backstage, the other day. This is something that needs to be worked on, and unless this gets addressed and worked on, you're going to keep getting what you always got. And so, with Bobby, and what I like what he does is that depending on the type of message. Now, sometimes a message comes through that is not good. And it's like, okay, this is not for public consumption, or if it's a private reading, he has to connect with his deity and be balanced with that so that he knows whether or not he has shared with us to give that kind of news or how to be able to give certain types of news or information that he gets in readings. So, again, it's all about, I think it comes down to our ethics on how we read and how we prepare for readings. So was there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah. Of course, my air conditioner turns on. Hold on 1 second.
I know I've got mine on.
Um, so for me, again, anytime I'm going to read, I know ahead of time, right? And I do all the preparation at my altar, and I pretty much do the same, almost verbatim, the same prayer, protection, all of that. And so, and then Lulu's getting a drink. I don't know if you can hear that. And and I light a candle and put out fresh water at my altar and whatever. Like I do all of that stuff. And so the other day, and to back up from that, won't even get to that part and get that far if I'm not feeling grounded. I personally, this is just me, I don't read if I'm not grounded ever. So like the other day, I'm not going to say I was ungrounded because I wasn't. I just wasn't. See, to me, it's two different things. There's grounded, and then there's just you're not focused, you're not in the zone, you're not having done all the stuff and whatever. Yes, I sat down at this table and I did like a modified version and just lit a candle, and then I just was like hit go. And it's like, and I have done that before, but usually that's just something for me, and I always call my protections. But like, again, in hindsight, it's like, no, I missed the mark. I didn't do all the stuff. And not that I'm ritualistic, but with that, yeah, I kind of am. And it's just a safety thing, and yes, you're grounded, and then you called in all your protections. It gets you into a mindset too. And again, everybody reads and does all their woo stuff probably differently, but for me, it probably just, there's a lot of different things that happen with that. It opens me up, it gets me focused. It's like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're not doing anything else. We're not thinking about other things. We're not, have the dogs been out? Like I get all the stuff taken care of so that I can into what I'm doing. And I didn't do that. And so why? I don't know. Maybe I was partially grounded. I don't know. I just didn't. And again, my sister kind of asked me, and I'm like, yeah, okay, da 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 da. And it was interesting. And then it wasn't what I thought it would be. And then I kind of this, that, da da da, and then talked to Heather. And it was just in hindsight, I think it was supposed to happen because it really had me go, huh, with all of this. And admittedly, I've not been reading a whole lot lately anyway. And so it was just kind of, and
He's a good reader, y'all.
I'm about to get started. I won't go into details, but I have something new that I'm looking to learn that's definitely woo woo. And
Really?
yeah, I got a new focus that I'll have some time to spend on this summer and all of that and whatever. So, anyways, it was interesting that it happened. I'm glad that it happened. Again, I never have a problem saying, "Hey, I got it wrong," and I highly recommend that to anybody who has a hard time with that. It's okay. It's not a big deal. And yeah, yeah, it was just interesting, and thought, oh, that's a good thing to talk about, and anybody that reads probably, has done or experienced something like that. And even if you haven't, hey, here's this example, da da da. Da. So, yeah.
And again, like you said too, when you started, because of HIPAA laws and with people wanting to be respectful of the family and not laying certain things out, we may have gotten cards that might have been spot on, but we just won't know because of privacy as well. So that's the thing too. Like when people sometimes I like in the past, you'll ask for a reading and you'll pull cards and I'll get something that what I see and I'll share that and then someone else I'm reading with will be, well, I'm not getting that, I'm getting something else. And in the past, for me, that used to be like, oh, I read my cards wrong. I'm not a good, and I would have to stop myself because sometimes one reader will have possibly one guide or information come through them that needs to be for that person to hear. And then the other reader, such as myself, will have another message. So that's something that I've worked through. So if you do readings and sometimes you get maybe like different information or different answers in your cards, it could just be spirits having one reader look at one facet of the energy or of the question that is being asked, or they may be presenting information on something that may not have been asked or needs to be addressed. Oh, excuse me, it's that coffee. That needs to be addressed. You know, that one reader might not have picked up on or wasn't meant to have that message, but the other one had to, so that they would get the best reading possible. I know that kind of just went around, but that made sense to me. So hopefully that made sense to y'all. And I have been noticing some really interesting chat. So first of all, Miss Tarot D came in and she goes, "Why is Allyson seeming so mad tonight?" And then of course, I was going to say the other Miss, but no, Stephen was just like, "Well, it's because, let's see, they're having fun." So I had to share this because I got a kick out of it. Watch, it's going to be lost. Just because, oh, it's because you were late, Mr. OD getting here. But no, it's lost, it's gone. But I love when Stephen and Miss Terody get into chat. It's so much fun with all of you. And I did see, because Maruta, I would love to have you join me on a show for Christmas. I want to get back into talking crystals because that was my connection getting into the spiritual community again back in Arizona, was my love of crystals and me taking Reiki crystal healing. And so for me, my department that I had in the store I worked at, I was the head crystal person, and people would come to me for crystal, information or guidance, and information. So, would love to do something with you on a show. Let me know if you're interested. Because Kristen was mentioning, not feeling grounded, and she uses Mukite. And I did like how Madame Maruta suggested iron, um, tiger's eye, because of both the hematite and the jasper being good for grounding.
I love tiger's
And
eye.
another good grounding stone, of course, straight up hematite. But also, when I was in Arizona, I had learned from a woman that had come to our one women's circle, black kyanite and blue kyanite. The black to absorb and to ground any, anxious, nervous, negative energy, while the blue kyanite brought in the calmer, the more psychic, more like kind of like the, I don't say the lighter energy, but it was like the black would absorb the heavier energy, the nervous energy, or the negative energy, and then the blue would come in and replace that, with a more peaceful, psychic, cooling energy. And one was supposed to be held, I believe the black was supposed to be held into the right and the blue in the left. But again, too, we are all different. Everybody's positive, negative, whatever energy with their hands are going to be different. But that's just something, too, that I wanted to share. And Carolina says crystals help you ground. Um, and lapis with lots of pyrite. I like that suggestion too. Sodalite too. I really like, so. I think for me though, my favorite is azurite. They're still packed because I don't have enough proper shelving to safely bring them out. But a nice deep blue azurite. Oh, here it was. Okay, what was Allison so mad because Miss Tarot D, you were late. And she goes, "Oh, okay. I thought it was because her protection broke." My God. Oh, you two. What am I going to do with you two? So let's see. And that makes sense, Shelby said, because I'm in frantic state and the cards are picking up on my energy and not what's actually going on. So yes, that's why it's, and like Allison said, for her, it's not necessarily about the grounding, but we all develop a certain way of how we read. And if we deter from that, it could even, um, not psychically, but also just we get wired a certain way of how we do something. And if we break away from that, it kind of throws off. See, I'm not big into the science terms or whatever. I'm trying to put, it's like, so if we go off of, basically, if we go off routine, it throws us off. I'll put it in the simplest, term, because we get so used to routine. And if we stop doing it, things a certain way, that has that, domino effect of where something doesn't quite work right because A didn't get plugged to B the way our brains are used to, and B to C. So but when we all establish a certain way of how we read that works best for us, it's good, like Allison says, to stick to it. Because at least for her, because if she skips any steps, that is going to throw off that connection she may have to her brain, understanding what's going on with her psychic ability, with her connection to the cards, and with her guides and ancestors. So I totally get that. And again, we are all different.
It's
Um,
it's funny because actually, what is the word? So, like when my, not that this is the same thing, but it just made me think of this. So, when my son was in uh, grammar school, he attended Waldorf, it was private school, and they had not going to say it was required, but it was required. And you knew this going in, that they had like a rhythm, as they called it. They really strongly suggested and gently enforced, but everybody was on the same page, so it was fine, of how to do certain things with your kids. Um, to attend school there and whatever. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. It was
100%.
just a way of like suggestion of what time to get your kids to bed by, and uh, how to do the morning routine, and all these things of how to lessen stress and have more of a flow and a routine with the kids. And pretty much everybody, if anybody wasn't doing it, I wasn't aware of it. And it was just beautiful. And there were other things too. And it was strongly suggested to do a rhythm with the kids. And I really did. I only had one, but we did a rhythm at home, like just in a nutshell. So, like, he went to bed at the same time every night. He got up naturally, organically, every morning at about the same time because he went to bed at the same time every night. We always did 3 stories. He would always have pear or apple before he went to bed. We would leave for school at the same time to go to school in the morning. Like on Mondays we would do this after school. Tuesdays we would do this. Wednesday, and really what it does, or their whole objective, was that the kids know what to expect. They feel like you're in control, the parent. They're safe. They know what to expect. Everything's more relaxed and more just everything. And it really did make a difference. And people don't have to do it if they don't want to. In fact, probably most people don't. But I learned something from that as an adult, because I didn't have my son till I was 32. That doing things like that, having things, and I've always been organized. That's not what I mean. It's kind of like having things set up in a rhythm is very grounding, and knowing what to expect. And you do this on this day at that time, and da 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 da. And I kind of still do that. Not nearly like that, but certain things I do. And I realized while we were sitting here talking about it, oh, that's how I do my prep to read. I had created, first you do this and then you do that, and da 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 da, na 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 na, and it just gets me to and then let's go, and so yeah, there's that. And I do that with a few other things in my life too. But anyways, I just want to share that, because it's like, oh, that's probably subconsciously part of the reason I do it, and where I learned to do it, and whatever. It was that whole instilled thing. And my son still does rhythm with certain things. So but yeah.
Yeah, once you get into a routine, that really does help
Routine,
because,
rhythm. Yep.
yeah.
And it's highly, like, my grandma, in hindsight, I remember learning all that. My grandmother did that. Like, I don't remember it exactly. If I sat down and thought, my sister would probably know, because my sister just remembers so many things. It's crazy. But like my grandma, she always, again, I don't remember exactly how it was, but just to let you know, she always did all of her ironing on Monday. On Tuesday, she baked the bread, because my grandma never bought a loaf of bread in her life. She baked bread till she died. Then on Wednesday, do the laundry, and then you clean the kitchen and the bathrooms on Thursday. And on Friday, you go to Kmart, and because that's when the sale
Kmart,
paper comes
yes.
out, right? And then, or maybe it was Saturday. I don't remember the day. And if you spent the night that night, you got to go to Kmart, and you'd always get a new coloring book, because that was always the
Yes.
big thing. It
Or
wasn't
for
such
me
a
too,
big
a
deal
Nancy
too. It was
Drew
just a
book
coloring book, but
or Barbie.
I
Yep.
loved a new coloring book. And
Yeah, me
anyways,
too.
that's how she did stuff. That's how, and in hindsight, though, it's funny. I remember my grandma, when I was too little to figure it out, my grandma had a lot of anxiety. Why? No idea. My grandfather was the most zen, perfect man for her, because she was, and so, but she probably unconsciously, she did all these things to help her feel safe, to know what was
Mm-hmm.
coming. And you plan, and they went through the depression and everything else, and they came out of it fine and whatever. But it's just kind of funny, remembering stuff like that. Like, and a couple things I
Mm-hmm.
got from her, like, you don't go to bed with dishes in the sink. Every single
Mm.
thing is washed and put away before you go to bed. And I still do that.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, it's just kind of funny, the whole routine and how you do things. And yeah.
Yep, I cook, he cleans. There we go. Done deal. And we've had a few people join us. Magic by Moonlight. Now, Magic, you are Shay that we read for. Am I correct? Or I read for?
Turn some lights on.
No, I think Tom and I read for you. I think it was Saturday night. I have just been having so many new subscribers and people joining my chats, especially through Selena. So I love how I have all these new people stopping in. So we have Magic by Moonlight joining us, and we also have Tapestry of the Unseen is here. I am really going to have to start writing down names so that I can keep track of everybody. I just love that. And Carolina says it's a healthy routine. And Irene also says you have to be part of the clique to get your kids into Waldorf above a certain tax bracket anyway. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I'm assuming that type of education is going to come with a price tag. With charter schools compared to public
It
schools.
depends. I mean, I don't really know exactly what she means, but I can kind of guess. So when my son was in school, actually I'll back up a little bit, but I'll try to make this quick. I had a really horrible
Bye, Stephen.
elementary school. Bye, Stephen.
Thank you.
Elementary school experience in general, really. And I knew I wanted my son to have a very, very different experience than I did. Really, just in general, his childhood, just different than mine, much better. And so actually his whole life. But when my son was born, and obviously I was there every moment of his life, he was not going to be an academic kid. And although where I lived at the time had, like, I don't remember how it's it's like top A schools or class one schools or whatever it's called. This is Marin County, California. Amazing schools there. Um, and they're super, super academic. I mean, the kids are doing homework in like kindergarten and first grade, no kidding. And I'm like, that is not my kid. My kids don't, my kid's feet don't even touch the ground. I mean, he was just a little, sprite to use. You know, yeah. And just he just would it would have just been it would have dimmed his light. There's no way. There's just no way. There's no way. And so Waldorf was perfect for him. And it can be private, it can also be public. And it depends on where you live, or in some places there's not even Waldorf as offered. But yeah, he was in private school until like fourth grade, and then my ex-husband and I had divorced, and then he had gotten remarried, and then my son, as he was going into fifth grade, and where they moved to in Sonoma, there was a charter school.
Ooh,
And
Sonoma.
thankfully, to my ex-husband's wife, who was friends with, I can't remember how this worked exactly, but we were able to get in on a lottery that was being done for the charter school, and my son got in. And so he was able to finish through eighth grade at the charter school, and it was no longer private. And so the
Nice.
last the last few years, there was no tuition, and it was um it was a good runner up. And my son had already gone through what I thought were the most
Fundamentals.
crucial years, those first kindergarten through fourth grade. And so I was fine with it. And his teacher was lovely. One of the things with Waldorf is your teacher goes all the way through the grades with you. You don't get a new teacher every year. Your teacher carries the class all the way through. That's one of the many beautiful things about a Waldorf education. But anyway, yeah. So it can be through charter, it can be private, and maybe there's even other things throughout the country. Again, Waldorf it's a way of um what'd she say? It was a click. It kind of is because your kids are not doing, mainstream
Hmm.
media. They're reading books and they're playing outside.
And I see a lot
And
of them doing that here, which makes me very happy.
yes, and there's probably there's probably a lot of Rudolf Steiner, or Waldorf.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
there. Yeah,
And I was going to say the only
yes,
time I
he
ever
did.
heard the
He
word
loved both of his
Waldorf was the
teachers.
salad. Yeah.
They do have a different teacher at kindergarten. So the kindergarten teachers stay, at least at our school, stay. And then first grade, you get your teacher. And sure, things can happen, life can happen. And sometimes a class will lose their teacher. And then, it's taken very seriously to find a different teacher that can carry that class through, but generally speaking, yeah, it's the teacher will stay with the class.
So,
That's the goal.
okay. That's nice. I wish I could have had that. I was from, we moved every year pretty
You
much.
would
My mom
have
left my
loved
dad. So,
Waldorf.
in every school I went to, I was the new kid. I was the one they would always focus their, you know, attention on. And so, but it wasn't until I got to college that life really opened up for me. So, my college, I think that's sometimes why I struggle with aging, is because of how, even though I had a lot of difficulty and a lot of heartache and pain in my 20s, for me it was some of the most liberating, awe-inspiring, and adventures and things I got to do in my 20s, and I kind of missed that. I wish I could kind of go back and still be in that age and that mindset of, oh, all these years are ahead of me, let's pave the way, so when they, that old saying, if only I knew now, when I knew back,
Yep.
it's just, yeah. So it is what it is, though.
You and I
And
both would have loved Waldorf. Probably just about everybody
probably,
here in this chat, because it's very, yeah, it's just, I mean, I could go on and I won't, but it's just like, you paint every day and you draw and you garden and you bake and you do all these things. Meanwhile, you're learning math and you're learning creativity and you're doing they learn calligraphy and they do eurythmy, which is a form of dance, and just it's just all kinds of, it's
nice.
beautiful and it progresses through the grades. There's a class play every year that gets more and more detailed. It's always Shakespeare, and it gets more and more detailed, and it's lovely. So and very grounding, and a lot of kids go on to regular school after 8th grade in this day and age because it's important that you then embrace the real world,
Hmm.
and it's a beautiful offering to children, but it's also important that they know how to navigate in this world. So I think the
Yeah.
break off in the or at 9th grade is a good idea. And anyways, I'll just stop. This isn't about Waldorf, but it's a beautiful thing if you can offer it to a kid that would do well in that kind of an academic experience. Yeah.
So Carolina says, I wish the schools would teach real life skills.
They're starting to. I think it depends on where you live. Like my son graduated high school here and he did like a what was it called? Like they learned to balance their checkbook and they learned how to do their taxes and they learned how to apply for a credit card and how to keep up your credit score and all. I don't remember what that was called. That was senior, maybe it was junior year. My son was the graduating class with uh, COVID. I think we can say COVID now.
Oh yes,
Um,
don't worry about that. It's only
and
been about 5 years.
yeah, and so, but yeah, I agree. Though, yes, there needs to be more real life prep school. But depending on where you live, I mean, they are offering that. Maybe they should start it younger. I just know, like junior, senior year,
Yes, it is.
it's an elective. Maybe it should be a required class, and maybe it will be. I don't know, depending on where you live and your school system and all of that. So,
And see, Shelby says, Allison, I learned that, but it was all forgotten. Yeah, sometimes, we forget things as we progress, and that's why it's good to have that constant balance. And Selena has joined us. this essence of the moon. Hello, beautiful girl. And oh, so now that I'm glad, Selena, you popped in here, because I was talking earlier that I got to go and visit a couple of galleries in downtown Ashland today. Oh my God, you and Allison, Selena. I went to a couple of galleries and I saw the most incredible photographs and artwork of owls and crows, ravens. I
Oh,
went to a
nice.
couple of them and I kept going, oh my God, Allison will love this. I go into a store, I'm like, oh my, I mean, Selena, there was I'm trying, it's wider than, it was bigger than an 18 by 24. It was on, but they were able to catch an owl. It wasn't a horn owl, I don't believe. I think it was more like around maybe a snowy owl. It wasn't complete white, but it had the grays in it. Anywho, the wingspan, they caught the whole bird in flight with its wings off to the side and the owl looking right at. I mean, I'm even getting goosebumps. And there was just some artist who did these beautiful, I think they were either oil or acrylic paintings of birds, and then they would put like the decorative, edges and stuff around them. Oh, the crows, ravens, the owls. I just kept thinking of the both of you. I was like, I wish they were here with me right now. I go, I would love to be able to,
Those are my favorites. Yeah.
So, my goodness, yes. Um, I thought that might have been Lila, but I did not want to get the name wrong again. So, Tapestry of the Unseen, that is Lila. So, yes, yes. So, oh, the beautiful. And there's an artist here who's also in Jacksonville. Her name is Jan Van Eyck, and she does these incredible, she does more of reliefs now. Not only does she do jewelry, but she's a sculptor, and we saw these huge, like they were like 10 grand a piece, but these huge tall sculptures in bronze, um, of of horses coming down in a spiral with a girl figure on
Mm,
the top and then one on the bottom with a dolphin, and then she has another one at this gallery that had these whales coming up in a spiral down. I mean, it's just some of the talent here is just absolutely
yeah.
phenomenal. I kind of like walk in and kind of go like this, like, oh, do I fit in here? With some of the art. But yeah, it's going to take me a while, but I'm really looking forward to some of these artists, and I'm going to try to meet this girl tomorrow. Her name is Jessica Johnson. She had the most beautiful, colorful, as you can see, landscapes at this one gallery, and then again the one that did the jaguar. Oh my God, just beautiful, beautiful. So Tom is here. He's back now. He's not driving. Okay, I can
Hey,
pay
Tom.
attention to chat now. So okay, we can officially start the show now. Tom is here. So Tom, because I'm going to put you on the hot seat, Tom, um, because your name of your channel is Early Ritual, and we've been talking about basically when we go to read, we have not just a routine, but it is a ritual. To me, I think I like using the word ritual more because it helps us also get us into that mindset that we are going to be connecting with our guides, we're going to be connecting with spirit, and our cards. And we've been having discussions on, when we go to read and how we interpret the cards, if we follow a certain ritual slash routine, um, and if we don't stick to that, how that affects our reading. So Selena, you just popped in too. So if I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I just saw Miss Tarot D and Tom. So Selena, Tom, and anybody else too that's joined us, if you want to share, if you have, it doesn't have to be like telling us your exact, because a lot of times that's private and that's personal. But do you find that once, if you don't follow set um, a set ritual of steps before you do any magic, any readings, if you notice if it really affects how you interpret the cards, and how, if you're having either trouble, I don't say trouble, but might be struggling a little bit trying to infer what the message is, the understanding is, because of the levels of layers, excuse me, of meaning. Do you find that when you stick to a strict ritual or routine, does the messages become more clear and are
Right.
more easier to discern? So, all righty. Let that sink in a little bit with Tom and Selena, um, fellow readers. So let's see. Miss Tarot D. Tom is here now. We all have to leave. Good riddance. Aw. So let's see. Irene, you're in the middle of a thunderstorm. Beautiful. You're in a tent shelter. It's so beautiful. Well, please be careful, my dear. I love a good thunderstorm too, but stay safe. So everyone's having a laugh, of course, Miss Tarot D. I've been thrown out of worse places. No, Allyson was mentioning Shakespeare, and I thought, wow, I bet you Miss Tarot D was playing, The Taming of the Shrew. So I try to be funny. This is why I'm never going to be a stand-up comedian, because I hear something funny in my head and I go to say it and it comes out anything but. And look, Miss Tarot D, that's Lulu. That's that's Allison's Chihuahua. So I got to see Lulu backstage today, and Scout. Very cute, very sweet. Let's see. I knew this protection spray would come in handy from its creator. Bitch be gone. No, just kidding. Or shrew be gone. Yeah. Oh, I'm laughing. I love when everybody gets into chat. It's just too bad Steven had to leave. We would have had Tom, Steven, and Miss Tarot D. I would have lost all control of chat. That would have been all over from there. So Selena says, yes, I feel off. Maybe it's in my head though, but I feel it's off. Oh, something's off. Okay, so I think that might have been what we were discussing. And Tom says, I think we all have rituals. I have rituals throughout my daily life. Do you notice, though, that your readings are not as clear or as, I don't want to say spot on, because we're not always going to be spot on, but do you find not just the readings not being clear, but do you feel or find that, because we all can sense when we're in touch with our own spiritual energy. And Tom, I know you don't necessarily work with a conscious deity, but when you go into and sit there, and those like with Selena who do work with deity, and I know Allyson doesn't follow deity. So when you're going into the energy of spirit, you have, and does not following that ritual make you feel like there is, like, the connection is not clear, like there's a disconnect? And I'm assuming in my head I'm hearing, well, duh, yeah, but I just don't want to assume that for everybody, and I want anyone to share comfortably what they would like to and chat about their experiences, because I love having these conversations. And I had Tom up till 1 o'clock this morning talking about spiritual stuff that I'm working on. So let's see, Miss Tarot D. Tom, I never say this, but I must. Ass. What? Oh, you too. So, and Tom says, yes, I think rituals help you focus. Like Allyson said earlier. Wow, you and Allyson agree. That's awesome. We like when that happens. And Shelby says, ritual, routines, rhythm all helps us set up some sort of stability. Exactly. Are you kidding me? I did, William. Oh, okay. So took a while for him to tame you shrew. You dated, well, oh my goodness, Miss Tarot D, you're too funny. And it's so funny how they're talking about Shakespeare, because I'm in the town with the world-renowned Shakespeare Festival that they have here with theater. So I'm hoping at some point while we're here. Now, not only do they do Shakespeare, I heard they also do like modern dance and stuff. And I miss going to see modern dance performances like I was able to in college. So I would love to be able to see that. Irene, I've been hit by lightning 3 times. Surely it can't happen a 4th.
Okay. How did that happen? Not once, twice, but 3 times.
Geez, because I know people have gotten hidden once that didn't make it. Because she says right now she's outside in her tent. Irene has shared on chat
Oh, is she an
before.
outdoorsy, campery?
Yeah,
Because
she
that
kind of
might be, that
fluctuates
makes,
between having a home
yeah,
and being outside. So she shared that with
that
us.
makes it more likely.
Um,
My, just really quickly, because I'll forget to mention this, my grandfather, my mother's father, before they came to the US, he was born in Spain. And as a child, he got hit by lightning. He was walking home and it was storming, and he didn't remember it, but somebody was there. I don't remember the whole story. This is obviously when I heard it, the story was ancient at that point. But he got hit by lightning. He was thrown. He got a bad burn from I want to say it was on his leg, and that's all I really remember. I don't know or remember the whole story, but my grandfather was
wow,
hit by lightning, and he did live, and he was a kid, and that's probably the best time to get it done as a little kid, because you're young and vibrant and whatever. But anyways, wow, that's a trip. Three
sure
times.
is. Let's see. So chat is starting to jump now because people are sharing.
I wonder
Um,
if that affects your intuition.
for some people, it has opened. I've seen stories where once people have had been struck by lightning and or near death experience, it
Right,
has
because it
opened
would
up
be,
psychic abilities in them.
I was just to say, because I think that probably counts as a near death, regardless of how it goes. That's definitely, I would think, an exit point.
Yes. So Magic by Moonlight is Shay. And Shay says, I use incense to cleanse the space I'm going to read. Then I have a candle with sigils and bind room for protection once I'm settled. I ask my guides and spirits to come in. All right, very nice. Thank you for sharing. And let's see, early ritual. I agree. I have physical and spiritual rituals that I do throughout the day. And I know there are some that you have shared with me, especially with your jar for protection. I love that jar. Actually, Miss Tarody, that would be great when you're able to do a show. Maybe we can get Nancy to join us because we kind of have that craft show that we kind of started earlier this year or last year. And this could be something magical, and maybe even Selena, but talking about how we can create jars for protection, for keeping an area cleansed and safe and protected, and maybe doing like a tutorial if you will be up to it. I would love to make something like that, and I can include that wonderful black salt that you made and sent to me. And let's see, she says, and when I don't do that, I notice that my readings are off, and it's like, what is this? So yes, like what Allyson was saying earlier, like, what is this? Get different cards all the time. So yes, so even Shay agrees that when she does not do her regular ritual, being of getting ready, it affects her readings as well. Um,
And my specific
mhm,
example, just to
mhm.
reiterate, it wasn't just that, it was that, and I don't normally do this either. So it was two different things that happened. But again, I'm looking at it really as honestly as my team was like, see, notice this, remember this, this thing, it's a learning opportunity. I had a preconceived thought storyline in my head, and that was absolutely influencing what I was seeing. And not only my cards, but like Heather's as well, her cards.
Mhm.
And I don't read like that. So that affected the way that I read as well, because I didn't do all the stuff. I stayed in my head and I didn't go to where I normally go. And so, yeah, and also, like I've said, this is just me, I like to not have a bunch of information when I'm reading on something, because it influences, and that's another reason why I
Mhm.
don't like to know a lot about someone or a situation and pull cards on it, because I'll absolutely just be led. And other people love to know, right? Me, I don't like to know.
Well,
So that way
Allison.
I'm really
Oh,
reading too.
mhm.
But anyways, so just wanted to throw that in there.
And for people who are new to chat, Allison has actually in the past has joined Jackie and I when Jackie and I were doing our true crime readings regularly. And there are times when we all kind of were getting similar cards, kind of being led. It was at times it felt like we were all kind of being not led again down a certain way of thinking, but also too is that the information, once we did have it though, did help make the cards make sense. So it's that balance for me. I need to know a little bit of something, but then as we start to pull cards, and then it's like, okay, then Alison would say, okay, do you have any more information? So for her, this is how she's able to read, or she was able to read with us. Jackie and I would have the deets, and then as we were doing pulling cards, after based on specific questions, then it would be she would be like, okay, so do you know this or that? And then she can look at the cards. And then there are times when you were like, yeah, this card makes sense now. So for some of us, again, we are going to be different. I might need some, basic information to kind of work off of what I'm seeing. Whereas for Allison, for her, she says, it's best for her not to have a lot of information, to kind of muddy up the waters too much. So we're all, again, it's how we connect with the cards and how our own psychic ability. And I keep saying psychic ability because it is, even our intuition, our psychic abilities do play a big role. When we are, of course, when we're doing our readings. And oh, my mind's like, I'm having all these thoughts and ideas just jumping through all over at the same time. So I was going to say something else, but that's completely gone. So while I'm waiting to see if that comes back, Tom also added some more things for us too. I think a reading will be off if you aren't in the right headspace. So if you feel you need ritual to focus, you will feel off. So, yes, but I think we all can learn to work without it. Interesting. Oh, go ahead.
I'd say I was going to agree with Tom, and this is for me. I do think this is good advice for anybody, but to each their own. Everybody is grown up and they can do what they want. For me, if I am upset, emotional, what I don't read,
Mm-mm.
and I mean for anybody, myself, for another person, online, whatever, and not everybody follows that. And that's fine. People can do what they want, but I think that you're not really doing a service to anybody involved when you read and you're not in a good place. So,
Yes.
I mean, there's been
I.
several times. I mean, my life, thankfully, now it's pretty calm and quiet, and I'm grounded and this, that, whatever, and I'm blessed and grateful and thankful and all that. But I mean, I am a human. So if I have a day where I'm just feeling off or not real happy about whatever, of course, we've kind of gotten away from reading. I'm sure we'll read more and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't, if I'm just like, no, I'm not going to read.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another reason, like I used to do some for a while there on some other channels, some regular readings. And there were days where it's like, and that's part of the reason I really don't, for me, like commit to a time slot. Because if it's a day where it's like, I'm just not feeling it for any number of reasons, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to be committed to that time
Especially if
slot.
you're supposed to be doing readings, because you don't want to give someone,
That's
you
what
don't
I'm
want to open
saying.
yourself up to
I'm
that, and you don't want to give someone a
exactly. It's
bad
like
reading.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
no, and I
And you
think you
can.
can see that too, depending on how you're like me. Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at somebody and they're doing readings like online, it's like,
Mm-mm. I've seen that too. I'm like, no, there's no way I'm asking for a reading.
or you could just, I
Yeah.
don't know. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's yeah, I'll just stop. You guys know what I mean.
Yep. And Selena says, yes, I feel there is a disconnect, but again, it could be me mentally doing it to myself, like self sabotaging. Yep. But they help me get into a mindset that I need for the ritual. Yes, that's something too. I'm glad you brought, yes, Selena, because like I was saying earlier, there are times when if you go to read and I'm hearing someone's reading going to, before me, because when I do my shows, I usually I'll let my guests go first if they're ready. And there have been times, even early on, or even recent past, up until this last year, if I'm looking at my cards and I'm going, okay, this is what I'm seeing, and then I hear my guest or somebody else reading, and if they're getting something else, then I'm start questioning myself. And I'm like, oh geez, I'm not getting that message, then I'm not must be a really good reader. Why is that? And so we have to really catch ourselves. So like you said, that we don't self-sabotage ourselves. And like Allison and I were saying again, a lot of the cards we were getting yesterday, they could very well have been spot on, but to protect, the person that, went missing, their families, and of course, again, HIPAA laws and things, we may never know, but it's quite possible that some of our cards were accurate. So again, we have to just kind of, set that aside and go, okay, this is what we have. And if something comes out later on, like I told Allison, I wrote down, even when we were reading for this person, I was getting a name totally other than the person I was reading for. I kept calling this individual another name. And I'm like, why does this name keep coming up? So in my notes, what did I do? I wrote the name, and then I, saw something that I felt was like a white van. I wrote up white van. And so I just wrote that, set it aside. And I figure if I come across anything or if Allison hears any more, she's going to shoot me off saying, hey, there's been an update. So in case anything like that comes through, it'll be a validation if that, if that is true. So it's always good to jot stuff down if you can. Um, so yeah, to go back and to refer on, except with all the true crime and stuff, because of the energy and everything, a lot of the notes and everything and stuff that we did, after a while it was just like, okay, I have to discard this now. I can't keep this energy. And if I feel like I need to refer to a video, I'll watch it again. And there have been a few times when Allison says, do you remember when you read on so and so? Go back and take a look at this. Was just released. And so again, and one of the things, that was what I was going to talk about earlier when we were looking at the cards. And I had my because I was using my Jeremy Hush deck. I had a card, and it was the bird. I can't remember if that was, I can't remember what the card. I think it was the Ace of Swords, maybe, I don't know. But the birdie was sitting on the side of someone's face with a needle in its beak. And I'm looking at the card. I'm like, okay, Alison, I know exactly what this card means. This is what it means. But now I'm looking at the imagery because I asked my cards to give me some insight on how something might possibly happen to this individual. And I said, there's a needle in its beak. Maybe there has to do something with a needle, a syringe, of some kind that could be involved. And so I wrote that down too, jotted that down, because before, when I had read on Riley Strand that went missing in Tennessee a few years ago, I had gotten the Ace of Cups. And I said, during my reading that I was doing, this is what the Ace of Cups mean. But I'm also feeling like, because it's a cup, it was a bar, I'm feeling like there might have been something that was done to his drink, which everyone pretty much agrees now with because of what happened to the young man. And then later on, I had walked away, and Allison was like, did you know his mom just gave an interview? She goes, they're thinking that there was something in the cup. Do you remember reading on that? She goes, you should go watch it. So we need to also learn how to trust ourselves. Even if we don't think the information might be accurate, still write it down and set it aside if you can, because you never know when something might come up later on that's revealed that will help validate. Because Allison has helped me validate readings that I've done. And, I'm like, oh, okay. And that's helped give me the confidence, because there are times when I'm just like, well, if I'm not getting what you're getting, and then that leads to, like Celine, and when you said, and we start to doubt ourselves, start to doubt what we're understanding the cards correctly. So I think that's something, as all readers, we, have all experienced at some point.
That's something else that I want to point out, and I'm sure I've said this before, but not on this live, is that like myself, I'm often the odd man out when pulling cards, and there's more than one person or two people or whatever. Or sometimes I'll get the same things. Like sometimes, like if Heather and I in the past read on stuff, we'll get something similar. But often, I'm the one that gets something different from everybody else. And usually, if there's anything that can be, I get darker readings. So, yeah. Or it'll just be completely different information, still related to the person or the situation or whatever the heck we're pulling cards on, but it'll be the less rainbows and unicorns of the situation. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
And people have validated that Allison's read for it. They're like, yes, we know what this is. And Allison's even gone, in the past to say, well, if you want more, I can, here's my email, here's the email, it's in chat, message me and I can help pull a few more cards. So, again, the ability to discern what to share for public consumption, and to give, the person that we're reading for that opportunity to have something more private to share, so that, because we got to be kind of careful not to, go blah with people's, especially if you know that person. Allison and I have read for a lot of people that, over the years, the same people that come to see us. So after a while, you get to understand maybe where the cards are pointing at or coming from, especially, with what's going on in their life. And there have been times when I've read for a couple of people like, okay, girl, do I need to tell you what this card is? And then I'll see in chat, no, got it. Okay, move on. And something that, going back up into chat, that Irene was sharing, she said, once I was on the phone and the other two times were outside. And she said that couldn't use a computer for years. If I even walked into the room, others' computers glitched because of her having been hit by that lightning. Wow. And she says, I have had a few near death experiences as well. And I've never heard of sheet lightning. I was lifted off the ground by sheet lightning. I don't know what that
I don't
is.
know what that is either. I know what well, does that have anything to do? Probably not. When, because rain can come down in sheets, you know how it comes down, it almost looks like it's like and so maybe the light, I don't know. I don't know what that means either. Never heard that term.
And Selena says, heck yes with the jars. Carolina says, love making jar spells. Alrighty. And Shelby had asked about scars, and she says, I have no scars, which is amazing. So makes me wonder. I mean, iron fire, of course, lightning is fire. It's almost as if, you know, you know, you're connected to that element. And that might be why it doesn't hurt you as much as others, because you're connected maybe spiritually in some way with those elemental lightning elementals. So I don't know, Irene, and you don't have to share because this is, something that's, spiritually private, could be private. But if you work with any specific deities or energies that are connected to lightning, like just pulling off the top of my head, Thor with, with his lightning, and with Zeus with, I can't think of too many female goddesses right now with that's connected with lightning, but that type of energy, or even just the elementals of fire and lightning. I don't know, lightning might even be considered like a connection of all of them, some, possibly with spirit. So she says, so I don't know, she said. And let's see. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Ginger, something is going to the next round of RuPaul. Oh, it was Carol D's watching RuPaul. I was like, who's Ginger Main? So she's watching RuPaul. I know you worried about that early ritual. I was actually. Okay, yeah, we all love each other. We know that we were all joking. And Shelby says, those are really cool readings, how the messages connect and intertwine together to come up with something. Yes, and so Miss Tarot D is leaving. Everyone have a blessed night. I need to rest. By the way, I may or may not go live tomorrow. I have to see how I feel. Well, make sure you subscribe to Miss Tarot D, and so that if she does go live, that you will be notified, and we can go and support her in every way possible. Or should I just leave the jokes to Tom? I mean, Tom's a lot better with the jokes than Steven. So everybody wishing Miss Tarot D good night. I'm behind in chat, so Carolina's still agreeing with Allyson with what we were discussing. I agree with that, Allyson. Same with doing healings, especially. So I apologize. I'm behind in chat. So We can always watch back heat lightning. Sheet lightning might be heat lightning. I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh,
She explained it just a second ago. You'll see it.
okay, you might be right. I was voted most likely to spontaneously combust in the yearbook in high school. Oh my goodness. Okay, so sheet lightning is a term used to describe a bright, diffuse flash of light in the sky caused by lightning, often within or between
Or
clouds.
Miss Moonlight.
Wow.
Fox described it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Shelby.
Yep. Thank you.
And it's nice to see Maruta is still here. Let's see. There's fork and sheet lightning. Fork lightning kills more. Got you.
I'll have to look them up. I'm curious now. I love lightning. Lightning is so cool. Not to change the subject, but again, me and how my brain works. If I don't say it now, I'll forget.
Same here.
So, and Heather, you probably experienced this because I know you were in Arizona. When I was married, we had a rental property in Phoenix, and we would go stay there when our tenant, who was a baseball player, but I can't remember who he was, he would leave at a certain point, and then we would go and stay there for a month or so, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, we would get these heat lightning storms, and they were so cool. And we would go sit out by the pool, but on the patio underneath the overhang, so we were safe. And the lightning would just be, usually it was late at night, and the lightning would just be like just going off. Like the couple times that I can remember.
Yep, I remember, yeah.
In fact, one night we were there and my husband wasn't there. I was there with his business partner's wife. We went with our boys because they had two boys that were, one was slightly older, slightly younger than my son. And we just went, us girls, and took the boys and blah, blah. And one night we got up, we'd already gone to bed, all of us. And I remember her and I were in the master, and we were staying in there together because the bed was massive and whatever. And we just were chatting all night and this, that, whatever. Anyways, big storm started. And we went outside. It was so incredible. And this is the only one time I've ever done this. We went and got the boys up so they could come outside and see it because it was so cool. And of course, they were, out of their minds that, woo, they got to get up and go outside and see it. And we were all safe where we were, but it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And I did see it a couple other times besides that, but that one night, it was just crazy. There's no rain, right? It's just heat lightning, as they call it. We do get that here where I live in Michigan, but in the desert and here, very different.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool. And the lightning, at least, I mean, maybe it was just the few times that I saw it. It didn't come down as close to the ground. It was more definitely up in the sky and you could see it. You know how at least where I am,
Night, Shelby.
When there's lightning, you can see it cracking down out of the sky and coming, near the ground, or sometimes it might even touch the ground. And and it's very
so it doesn't
like blue purple, right? The color of the lightning. Whereas now I can't remember, and I'd be lying if I did. It just looked different, and it wasn't just that it wasn't like the whole sky lights up, like you can see all the clouds and everything, and it's just really, really, really magical.
We got that a lot in Flagstaff.
So cool.
Unfortunately, there was a young man who was going to NAU, and he was out playing football, catch or something by himself, or soccer. He was doing something out in the open field on campus, and boom,
shouldn't have been out there,
just like that. And it was during monsoon season. It was during the summer, and you really got to be careful during monsoon season in Arizona. So just out of nowhere, you never hear about this happening. Boom, it happened to that young man. He survived, but from what we heard later on, it took a while. He was going to have to go through a lot of physical therapy and stuff but at least he survived. What was that, hon?
And boom.
And
That's what I was talking about.
I
Does
didn't even
anybody?
notice.
Heather and I were talking about
Boom.
accents. We were talking about accents the
Boom.
other day, and she was saying how she doesn't feel like she has an accent, and I was telling her, I'm like, well, we all feel that way, right? But
Boom.
the reality is we have accents depending on where we live. And I was telling her one word that comes to mind right away is she says boom instead of boom. Like if there's a boom, you say boom, and Heather says and bum, and it's like and bum. Like the first time I heard her say that, I legit, maybe I was half listening or whatever. I was like, what did she say? And then I thought she was saying something else. And then I realized, oh, she's saying boom, but she says boom. So,
Yeah.
anyways, maybe I had
Same
to be
thing.
there, but I was had to say it when I just heard her say that because we
Well,
were
that
just
happened to
talking
me
about it the other day.
yesterday. I was talking to my doctor for my medication, for my mental health medication, and they outsourced to Texas. So I was doing a telehealth video with somebody in Texas, and she kept saying like the word "see," and I'm like, "What's see?" I don't understand what she's saying. She goes, "See," I go, "You mean city?" And she says, "Yes. What city are you in?" Because she was saying "see," and I'm like, "What's see?" So I get it, So.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and maybe even with the boom, I don't know. Sometimes
Boom.
some of us just say something a little different, like it's our thing, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
personal thing, right? But yeah, when I first moved to Florida, many of the friends, acquaintances, coworkers that I worked with said that I said hanger weird and I said roof weird and I said like there was a handful of words and it labeled me Midwest, Michigan, and to me, it didn't really, and I didn't really pick up on much of a Florida accent talking to people, like hearing it in them. But the farther north that I went, it did sound a little more Southern. Florida is such a melting pot, too. I mean, there's like New York accents all over the place and everything, like,
Yeah.
or New Jersey, I should say, and like I don't hear like a New York accent on Heather, or I don't, anyways. But I'm just saying, like certain areas, yeah, you're gonna pick up on stuff and hear more. Yeah, and like even in California, you get kind of like depending
Mm.
certain areas more of the whole Valley Girl thing. You do kind of hear that where that's
Yeah.
really more of a way of talking, but it's it's just it. I think it still kind of ties into what we're talking about. You could depending on what area you're from, also words, different words that are used.
Quarter. I
Like
say quarter.
I grew
Mm-hmm.
up in Michigan and then I was in Florida and then I was in California for a very long time and it's like not that I drink it cuz I don't, but it's like I grew up in Michigan and everything's called pop. Like and then you go to Florida and in California everything's called soda.
Soda. Yep.
And like now I say soda because I was gone so long and now I'm back here again. I don't drink it anyway, but like it's come up a couple times with me and Anthony, and he's like, it's pop. And I'm like, it's soda.
Soda.
It's
I say
not
I say
pop.
both.
Pop is
I say both.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Everybody else calls it soda. Well, I shouldn't
Yeah.
say Michigan. I think they say it in Ohio. Do they say that in New York?
They
Pop
say yeah, they say
or
both.
both?
Well, I noticed that this New York City area, people said pop more, whereas in New York, my area, Western New York, it's soda, but people still say
Right.
pop too occasionally, but it was mostly soda. So
Another
yeah,
thing that is Michigan and I think Ohio and other areas might do it too, and I got ragged on for this,
Texas soda. Yeah.
is saying tennis shoes.
What?
Saying tennis shoes instead of sneakers.
I
That's a
know Shan calls them
total
tennis shoes. I'm like
Michigan thing.
sneakers.
Say they're wearing tennis shoes. I said that in Florida. My ex-boyfriend at the time, he rode me so hard on that. He thought that was hilarious. He's like,
Yes, Shan
tennis
still
shoes. He's
says
like, you gonna go
tennis
play
shoes.
tennis? He's
I
like,
know.
tennis? He's like, you don't play tennis. What are you talking about? I mean, he gave me such a hard time. And I'm like, and I hadn't even thought about it. I'm like, you're right. Why do we say tennis shoes? They're sneakers,
They're
right?
sneakers.
And
Shan still
so,
calls
like
them
in
tennis
California,
shoes though.
everybody
And I
calls them
correct them every
sneakers.
time.
Like my son, after we moved back here, because my son was like 15, we came back to Michigan, and he brought that up. He's like, everybody's saying, well, sorry, my son swears. He's like, everybody's saying fucking tennis shoes. He's like, they're sneakers. Because my son's total California born and raised, right? And I'm like, I know. And there's more words than
Oh
that, but
my
those are
God,
the
I'm
two
cracking
most
up.
really common ones: tennis shoes and pop. Totally Michigan.
Oh,
Um, and there's some other ones too, but it's just funny. Different areas say and
yeah.
do different things. I got a great email a while ago, and it was like, you're from Michigan if, and I'm sure there's other states, and I love those. They're so funny. It listed all these things that you would only get if you live in Michigan. Probably Ohio
Mhm.
too, maybe and the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, but just so funny
Yep.
things. And we all states, we all have our little things, right? It's just funny.
Selena says in Ohio they say pop.
Yes.
Texas it's soda, and Irene says up here in Canada we call it pop.
Right.
And
Okay. So that makes sense. So if you think about it, this area, right? So, like Canada, Michigan, Ohio, which are,
oh,
bookends,
get more room. Oh,
says pop.
yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the funniest thing. Shan will still sometimes go out of his way just to say tennis shoes, just because he knows that irks me. And I'm like, don't you mean sneakers? Or for me now, it's like
Yeah. It's
Skechers.
just funny. Like, I'm surprised, especially the way
Cali
I am with
soda.
words, because I'm a wordy person, that I never really thought about that prior. Like,
Hmm.
tennis shoes. Maybe it's my parents played tennis when I was little, and I did too a little bit and whatever. So
Yeah,
maybe
so did
in
he.
part that's why I didn't think about it,
Hmm.
because the breakdown of that word, I'm surprised it never occurred to me, because it didn't until it was pointed out to me, and I'm like, my God,
I'm
you're
like,
right.
let
Why do you
him in.
say that? Yeah. Yep. Same here, Selena. Same thing. Yeah. It's like pop. And so obviously yeah, it's soda pop, right? That's where
Come
it comes
on.
from. And for whatever reason, we shortened it to pop at some point.
Come on. He
And then
started
in some
yelling.
areas, this is in the South somewhere, where did I just see that? There's somewhere, maybe somebody in the chat will know, where they call everything a Coke. Like, everything's a Coke. So that's yet again another weird oddball thing. Why always with the carbonated drinks? Is there some weird category? I don't know. Who was it? I just saw that. Um,
Be happy now. Be happy now.
saying that like everything's called a Coke, whether it's Coke, Pepsi, and named off some other ones. So anyway, this is
Let's
funny.
see. Shay says in New Orleans we call it cold drink or just Coke.
Okay. Or
Interesting.
just Coke.
Ooh,
Right.
you're
So
in
like a Mountain
Norland.
Dew. I'm trying to think of what some of the other ones are, or a Sprite,
Yeah.
or whatever. They're all a Coke.
Or
Or
Dr.
maybe it's just the
Pepper.
brown colas. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I don't drink soda, but back in the day when I kind of did, I've never been a soda drinker because we didn't do it at home. I always liked root beer. Root beer was what I liked.
See, I could never take the bite of the root beer. Ginger ale, yeah, on occasion, but yeah, for me the root beer is like an acquired taste.
Yeah, the
Um,
only one that I liked was root beer, and why that is, I don't know. Um,
and
yeah,
Irene says, I thought it was really weird when I lived in Scotland as a kid. They called all pop soda
lemonade.
lemonade,
Like, I don't
like
even get
lemonade, even if
that.
it had no lemon in it.
No
So,
lemon, and there's no carbonation.
and Selena
Interesting.
loves root beer; it's her favorite. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't. I
Say
can't. I can't eat any of that
yay.
kind of stuff. But yeah,
What do you prefer?
root beer
You
is
just
good.
prefer water. You just prefer water, right? You don't even like milk. Yeah.
They're not supposed to drink milk anyway. But yeah, most
I
cats
know.
like
Every now
milk.
and then I get.
Yeah, most cats like
Ziva
milk.
loved hers. And yes, there's Mozzie. Yes, yes. So, what
Yeah,
an interesting. You never know where our show's going to go.
that's true. My mom liked Squirt. Does anybody remember Squirt?
Oh my God. I'm glad they changed that.
It
I
was
mean,
kind of like it
squirt,
was
that's
it
so.
was lemony, and it was carbonated. A lot of people used it in drinks, like it would be a mixer for, I don't know,
My mom
something.
loved
Oh,
Orange
vodka and Squirt, I
Crush.
think it was. But my mom would buy Squirt. She'd get the 2 liter. She would drink it. She liked it. We didn't have it much, but like once in a blue moon, she would get soda or pop, and that's what she would get. She would get Squirt, and I'd be like, no, I'm good.
I'll pass. Oh,
I'm good.
I did enjoy when my mom would drink the Orange Crush. That was her favorite, and every now and then I would have some of that. They still make it here and there,
That
or
reminds me,
Royal
and
Crown.
Selena might know this because I think she was Ohio girl growing up.
My dad loves Squirt.
We had
All right.
we had okay, we had this was a Michigan thing, so I don't know if this, but I don't know how it worked. There might have been other like storage houses or whatever, or maybe even factories, but Town Club. Does anybody remember Town Club?
Mm-mm.
So Town Club, and I'll probably butcher this. Anybody that knows better than me or they're older than me might know better because I was little when this was going on. So back in the day, and I think I could be wrong. I think this was out of Michigan, maybe Detroit. Maybe it wasn't even Michigan. I don't know. But there was a company called Town Club, and
Mm-hmm.
they made different flavored soda pop.
Yep. She says yes.
So, okay,
I
grape,
don't.
orange, lemon, and I think there was a cola, and there were grape, orange, lemon, and there were probably others as well. But what it was, I think it was delivered, or maybe we went and picked it up. Do you know, Selena? But my grandparents had like a lot of households. They had their fridge in the kitchen, and then they had a refrigerator downstairs. And it was like the old refrigerator, but it, made its way down to the laundry room, and it was plugged in, and it was always stocked with Town Club soda because somebody was drinking it. It must have been my grandpa. It must have been. I don't ever remember seeing him drink soda, but I know my grandma didn't. But it was there, and we could have some when we were there. As grand, anybody could go get one, but it would come in a wooden box that had like the handle holes, and it would hold like probably
You know,
two
I think
dozen
I do remember that.
and it would hold like 2 dozen, and like it came in the tall clear glass bottles. The orange was orange, right, and the grape was purple, and there was brown. I know there was cola,
I
and
think
then
I
there was, I don't
faintly
remember all the
remember.
colors. I just remember the purple and the orange, and I thought the orange was really pretty, but I hated how it tasted. I liked the grape one pretty good.
She
Oh, and
liked
they
grape
had
and
root beer.
orange.
They had
Yeah.
root beer. That's probably where I discovered root beer, honestly. Yeah, it probably was. But anyways, yeah, so that was called Town Club, and you would keep all the bottles and you would return the bottles. I don't think there was a deposit. This was before all of that, but it was about like if you returned the bottles when you went to get more. So I don't know if my grandpa went and picked it up or if it got delivered or whatever, but yeah, that's the whole Town Club thing.
So I love this. Selena said that her dad loved Squirt.
Grape and
He
orange.
mixed
Yeah.
with tequila, and so now to remember him, I buy it and have a drink with my dad on his birthday or dates of
Oh,
passing.
that's nice.
Selena, I love that. And she says, yeah, her dad would pick it up and Cracker Barrel.
Oh, vanilla cream. Yes, that's right. There was one and it was kind of sorry. That just totally took me back. I'm like, "Oh god." It was kind of
Selena,
like
you should have been part of the show.
it kind
Ice
of
cream
looked
soda.
like I'm going to say I just saw it. Kind of like what skim milk looks like, right? Where it's like so translucent but yet it's kind of white, right?
Mm.
Vanilla
So yeah, Cracker Barrel.
cream. She said, "Oh, at Cracker Barrel." She says she thinks
She's like,
Cracker
she
Barrel
loves
sells them
it.
now. I love it when I have a memory recall of something. It's because
Mm-hmm.
my phone is right in front of me. Sorry, you
Yeah.
guys. That was probably really loud.
RC Cola was something too that we drank that had a different, taste to the cola.
Maru said knee highs. Very similar
I don't
concept. Different
remember
company.
those.
I remember
Yeah.
them talking about knee highs on MASH. I'm showing my age now. I'm 55, you guys. I remember watching
Yes.
MASH because my
Oh yeah, all the
dad,
time.
this is going way back when my parents were still married 100 years ago. And my dad always watched MASH, which was, I think, already
Literally.
in reruns at that point, but
Mm-hmm.
it was always on. And I like MASH. MASH was a really
Yeah.
good show.
I
But
love
anyways,
Memory
they always
Jones too.
had,
Yeah.
or they would get as a special treat or something like that. They would reference knee highs on that show. And at Knee High and Town Club, different company, but
Mm-hmm.
same concept, flavored soda.
And I
So
love how Maruta brought, because you're talking to just now about your dad. Selena was talking about her dad, and now my dad just jumped in with the MASH reference. because when I was first learning flute, when I was
Oh,
in
I just have
elementary
goosebumps.
school, the one of the songs that I had to learn was the theme song from MASH. And my dad used to, my mom told me, your dad would just lighten up when he would hear you practicing the MASH theme on my
Yeah.
flute. So
Yep.
all of our dads are here.
And really quickly, again, if I don't say it
Mashed
now, I'll say it
potatoes.
super, super quick. When Anthony and I went on our little trip a couple weeks ago, we were in the hotel room, and one of the nights we had the TV on briefly, like maybe, I don't know, an hour or something. And I was flipping through, and MASH was on, and I just left it there. And it was kind of on, and we were kind of watching it, but we were laying in bed talking about the day and blah blah blah. But yeah, it was on.
And mashed potatoes. Oh my God, Carolina, stop it. My dad's favorite food that we would go out together was this roast beef, and this is how he would always pronounce it. I want some roast beef with mashed potatoes. That's how he would always tell the waitresses. So
Potatoes.
potatoes, and so yeah, I love that.
My
My dad loved mash. Yeah,
She said,
and anything
Selena
John.
said, my dad loved MASH and anything John Wayne.
That's cool.
My dad, without going into about him, but that is a good thing with him. And then his wife who she died a year ago, January. She loved John Wayne, loved John Wayne. Like watched. She was, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. She was a huge John Wayne fan. This
Yeah,
is my dad's wife after my mom. Yeah.
yeah. My Shan was in a John Wayne movie briefly. He got to meet Katharine Hepburn too. He was an extra back in the day. Cogner Rooster, no, the rooster and Mrs. something and the
Oh,
lady.
I remember pulling.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember you telling us about
something
that.
like that. Yeah, so
And with
used to watch MASH with my
Katharine
dad.
Hepburn, right?
He got to meet
Mhm.
Katharine Hepburn, and he
I
said she
love
was such
Katharine
a sweet
Hepburn.
lady, and she's like,
I'm
"Oh,
not
you're so
surprised.
handsome. Are you going to be a movie star?" And he's like, "No, no, I'm just here for to have some fun." And because they were filming Kagaroospert and the lady out in Central Oregon, and this is when I think he said him and his grandma and mom were living in Bend, Sun River area up here. So they were looking for extras, and he had a line, but it got dropped on the editing floor. But he's still in there for a few seconds, so it's always it's always fun.
Yeah.
Potatoes, yes, that was exactly how my dad would pronounce it. So, wow, the rabbit holes we go down on my channel or on my shows. I love it though. I love organic, fun conversations. I did know that maybe next week I'll talk to Allyson, maybe do some sort of reading because I have had some private requests that they miss our readings that we used to do because they like the straightforward and they like the personal reading. So maybe next Friday, Allyson and I can think of something that maybe we can pull a few cards on for everybody. Just so that we make sure though we can't promise anything because again if the energy's not there you know,
Right.
we won't read, but we'll see what we can do to um, we can fill some of those requests. But I just love having the conversations with everybody in chat. So we are at 2 hours, so it is 10 o'clock y'all's time, and I know
Yeah. I'm
Steven just went
officially yawning.
live.
Oh yeah, he's going. Is it 10?
Yep, he just
Yeah.
started a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
got to make
Yeah.
sure I go say hi to the orphan, the cosmic orphan, and thank you everybody for joining Allyson and I tonight. We had a nice turnout. We love it. Love the conversation, and if you have any ideas too that you might want Allyson and I to kind of talk about, or anything too we might want to read on, please let us know because I want to start doing some more like reading on paranormal locations, like on certain homes and places. We did that once one night on our Friday night show. We
We
pulled cards
did.
on some location.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right, with Ange from Roots and Waves. We pulled on that Canadian apothecary and we were getting some
Oh, that's
interesting.
right.
Mm-hmm. And that was accurate. Some of the cards that we were pulling out that we would find out about the owners. So, but yeah, 2 hours already. Yep, that was fast. So let's see. She is reading. Selena, I am reading a new book that arrived. Ooh, a joy. I wonder what book that is, Selena.
I just got a
Inquiring
new
minds
book
want to know.
too. Um, Actually, I have a whole stack that I need to return to the library too. I love, and really quickly,
Hmm.
Selena, the emoji, the hole with the rabbit. I've done that several times, and that's one of my favorite little
Rabbit
emoji
holes.
combos. It's very cute.
Yeah, we stopped at our Barnes and Noble that's in Medford, and not as big of a selection for tarot or oracle cards, but they had a little selection, and I did see there's that book again on the Morrigan, so the Morrigan's still hanging around a little bit, and they actually had Murder of Crows tarot that I'm still getting tempted. I'm getting the itch to go get. So, yep, that was there, top
I
shelf.
pulled it out and I'm sitting here because I'm going to make myself. I got this a while ago, probably some of you know, and I haven't done anything with it. And I love it. I think it's really
Mm.
awesome. I just have not read much for a while now. And but I love it. The artwork is really cool. And I just need to get familiar with the cards so that when I look at it, I know what card it is because these are not, um, I mean, if you don't know the deck, you won't know. If you don't know the cards, you won't know the cards. Meaning if you don't know your cards, just your traditional cards, you won't know the cards because these are not indicative or helpful in any way. Not really. Some of them are, and they're also barely labeled. But this deck is gorgeous. It's very dark for anybody that's interested. Does Selena have this?
No, but she
Jack, I'm
says I love that
wondering.
comic
Yeah, she
too.
said she did. I'm curious if she has
I know
this.
Tom does, and
This
so I'm thinking
is
about getting it too.
this
Maybe
is
doing
a
readings.
uh you know this is a good deck for a witch for sure.
I think that
Um
would be great to do a show, and because I know I want to get. I keep seeing it, and I keep getting
it's
drawn to
really
it,
nice. It's
and do a
very
show, do
the
readings.
cardstock's a little thick. I cannot bridge shuffle it, but I need to not be bridge shuffling anymore anyways. It's too hard on my joints on my thumb. But they're really, I mean, they're very dramatic and there's nothing fluffy about this at all. But yet at the same
Yeah,
time, I do want to use the word beautiful in
yeah.
a very
Selena wants that
dramatic,
deck
dark
too.
kind of way. Um okay, so she doesn't have it. Yeah, I don't know why you
The
wouldn't
great deck.
love it. It's really cool. And I love what is it called, Heather? You'll know, and Selena, you'll probably know. I can never remember the name. What is this called? The plague mask that they used to wear? What is
Oh,
that called?
I just always knew it as the mask that the doctors wore for the plague. It was
There's a
I don't know what the
name.
specific name it is.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure there's a name. I
Tom
think
knows
there's a name.
probably.
I don't think
Um,
Tom's here. Oh, he is here.
yeah.
Tom, do you know
And
what that's called?
and Carolina says I don't know, but I never resonated with that deck. The plague. Oh, it's just called the Plague Doctor Mask. So unless there was another name that they gave it that we're not
There
aware of
might
it.
be, and maybe it's just
Hi,
uncommon, so
Julie.
you don't really, but I could have sworn there was a name for it. I'll look it up when I'm feeling nerdy. I'll see if I can find it.
I'm feeling nerdy. So, Julie, we
Yeah.
are wrapping up. We've been on for over 2 hours, but thank you for popping in and saying hello. It's always nice to see you. So, I can pretty much say most of us are going to go head over, say hi
Yeah.
to Steven,
I'll
go
have it
harass
on.
him for a few
Yep.
minutes.
I'm probably gonna go to bed before too long, but I'll do the whole Friday night, let my tablet play and I'll listen until I doze off thing. I don't rarely, or I don't often do that, but I will sometimes. And you
Tom
can
says
tell I'm
that's
already
all.
getting kind of sloppy.
Yeah,
Um,
to me it's still early.
I'm not on my work schedule still, but I still can't stay up very late.
Yeah,
I've also had a couple days where I took a nap and then
I
woke
took
up
one
and then
today.
stayed up till like 1.
Yeah, I did
Not
that
I
last night with. I didn't stay up till I stay up till 12, but I kept Tom up until 1 his time. But that he says
right.
that's the only name that he's ever known it as. So that
Okay.
might be something I'll have to look into. So
Yeah, I'll see if I can find out.
and Tom, I'll see if I can grab that deck too. It'd be cool if we could like all like do a show where we do readings using the Crow Tarot. That would be totally cool. I'm totally
Murder of
for it.
Crows.
Murder of Crows.
Tarot.
Excuse me, Murder of Crows. I still want to get the Crow Tarot too. That's a beautiful
That's a
deck.
beautiful deck. Anthony got
I
me
love the
that
artwork.
like one of the first times that we went out together. We went to the Woo shop that was here that's now gone. I love that deck. Now that's an example, and then I'll shush up. That's an example of big cards that actually shuffle really nice card stock. I could totally bridge shuffle that deck. I usually do it from the side though. But I really like that deck a lot.
Yeah,
That's a
some
deck
artists
that I
do.
connected to immediately. Love the Crow Tarot.
Oh, the Murder of Crows. Oh, Carolina, we'll talk. Email me. My email for this channel is in the description.
So she
That would
doesn't
be
connect with
totally
it, I
cool.
guess. It's
Hmm.
lovely. I mean, I see what I mean. Like some people connect to some
Yeah,
stuff, some people don't. Like I love that. I still will grab that deck. I That's one of my that's actually one of my favorites.
very
Yeah,
cool.
that's one of my favorites. Yep.
Thank you so much, Carolina. That's lovely. Thank you. I appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
alrighty, everybody. I know Allyson is still working on, so hang tight for everybody. Still waiting for the food channel to come out. And that, when I
Yes,
say
actually
food,
I'll be doing that. I'll be doing that very soon. My
so
first
stay
week
tuned.
off, where I was traveling with my man, and this week I've been taking care of stuff, and probably there's a good chance I might do it next week, actually.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll let
Yeah.
everybody know when it launches.
Mm-hmm.
And this Monday, we're going to be looking at the goddess Nyx. She has been coming around, very strongly, even before I left New York. Between her and the Morgan, I was actually looking for the Morgan meditations so that I could get to know the Morgan a little bit. And YouTube just ended up throwing Nyx into the mix. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I was starting to really resonate with her. And I pulled some cards last night, and they were really nice. So she's going to be somebody that I'm going to be studying and looking into. So, yeah, we'll be talking about her on Monday, and that's back at its regular time, 5 p.m. Eastern, and that'll make it 2 o'clock my time. So, yes, good night, ladies. Good night, everybody. Thank you again for hanging out with Allyson and I, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Have a good weekend.